And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. A new report by the Associated Press has revealed the New York Police Department recommended increasing surveillance of the Shiite Muslim community in 2006 as tensions between the United States and Iran escalated. The report is based on a series of interviews and a confidential 10-page police document recently obtained by AP. The May 2006 NYPD intelligence report is called U.S.-Iran Conflict, a Threat to New York City. And it makes several recommendations, including increasing monitoring of specific Shiite mosques and centers in New York and surrounding areas. The report is just the latest revelation by the Associated Press into secret intelligence operations set up by the New York Police Department following the September 11th attacks, targeting Muslim neighborhoods. Hundreds of mosques and Muslim student groups were investigated, and dozens were infiltrated. Police monitored and cataloged daily life in Muslim communities, from where people ate and shopped to where they worked and prayed. According to the AP, many of these operations were built with help from the CIA, which is prohibited from spying on Americans. On Thursday, a coalition of Muslim and civil rights organizations reiterated their call for the immediate resignation of New York City Police Department Commissioner Ray Kelly. The groups released a press statement saying such acts of surveillance undermine trust between the Muslim community and the NYPD. These measures are merely the latest in the well-documented history of NYPD's targeting of communities of color through discriminatory policing practices.
The AP report comes on the heels of another controversy surrounding the New York Police Department and the Muslim community. The police department's admission that it aired an anti-Muslim film, The Third Jihad, to nearly 1,500 officers during training. To talk more about the report, we go to Washington, D.C. to speak with Associated Press reporter Matt Apuzzo. He co-wrote the piece, Document Shows NYPD Eyed Shiites Based on Religion. Earlier this week, Matt Apuzzo and his colleagues at the AP were named finalists for the 2012 Goldsmith Prize for Investigative Reporting for their ongoing reporting on the New York Police Department's intelligence unit. So, Matt, welcome to Democracy Now! Tell us what you found in this latest report you did. Tell us exactly what this document is.
Well, this document is a secret, an NYPD secret memo prepared for Police Commissioner Ray Kelly by the Intelligence Division. This is the the unit that was set up and beefed up after 9/11 to basically root out terrorists and be the eyes and ears in the city for the NYPD. What the document does is it says there are ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Iran, and if those tensions were to escalate, what are the threats to New York, and what can we be doing now to mitigate those threats and try to get ahead of the curve? That type of analysis, that goal, is the kind of analysis that, frankly, every intelligence agency does, and everybody expects should be done. But what happens is they then say, okay, so this is the threat, and they go through and they say this is the demographics of our city. They make note of the number of Iranians who live in the Northeast, and then they talk a little bit about the makeup of Iran and the political nature of Iran, and then they list a bunch of recommendations. And the recommendations go from the obvious, we should try to recruit more sources who speak Farsi, to things like, as you mentioned at the top of the show, we need to be increasing our intelligence gathering at Shiite mosques. Now, I mean, it's very hard to read that document as saying anything other than you're doing religious profiling. I mean, what you're saying, what that document says is we should look at all Shiite mosques because we need to know about Iranian terrorists, and so they might be there. So Iran is Shiite country. Iran sponsors terrorism. We have Shiites in the United States. That's where we should be, where the Shiites are. And that was really striking for us because Mayor Michael Bloomberg has said the NYPD doesn't even consider religion in its policing. So, we've asked the mayor if he still thinks that's true, but his office had no comment. Ray Kelly has said they only follow leads, but there are no leads at all in this document that suggest this is why we're going into these mosques. This is why we're spying on Shiite mosques here. There are no leads other than they're Shiites. Ray Kelly kind of downplayed that at a news conference yesterday and said, well, it was this is a contingency plan. If hostilities were to break out between the U.S., this was our contingency plan. That was confusing to us because it doesn't say that anywhere in the document. There's no indication of what would trigger this contingency plan, and also what we haven't been able to really get an answer for. If this is a good idea, if this is sensible police work, why wait? Why wait? Why make it a contingency plan? Why not just do it? And if it's not a good idea, if it's not something they should be doing, then why would you even have it as your contingency plan? If it's not sensible, why would it be your contingency plan? So we haven't been able to get answers to those questions. But I mean, the document has really, for us, been a little bit of a window into the analysis that drove a lot of the programs we've been reporting on for the last 6 months. The demographics unit, which monitors conversations in coffee shops and hookah bars and social clubs, to the mosque crawlers that go to the mosque. We knew that this was going on. We had documents showing it was going on. For the first time now, we have documents backed up by interviews showing, well, this is why it was going on. And at least in this instance, the logic wasn't follow a lead, it was follow Muslims.
Matt, once again, the document shows the extraordinary reach of the New York Police Department. They're talking not just about surveillance in New York City, but also of mosques up and down the Northeast. Right. You've seen this before, about the New York Police Department basically conducting operations wherever it feels it needs to do so.
Right. And so in this instance, they're talking about suburban Philadelphia and West Hartford, Connecticut. I mean, those are the southernmost and northernmost reaches of on the list, the mosques on the list. What's interesting here is, this is so far outside the New York Police Department's actual physical jurisdiction. Some of what they do, they actually are able to pick up under federal jurisdiction, because this unit is technically part of a federal high-intensity drug trafficking task force set up by under the auspices of the federal government. So it's interesting. At least some of these documents we've obtained are actually, were actually done on federal computers. But we've not been able to get any answer from the Obama administration. The Justice Department wants nothing to do with this. They haven't answered our questions for months on this about whether this is okay. I mean, we just want to know, the Obama administration has been really clear about where it comes down on what police departments and what the federal government should be doing as far as outreach to communities and how we should be, building those bridges. They've not said whether, well, yeah, we want you doing that, but we also want you doing this stuff that the NYPD does. I mean, the federal government, spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year on the NYPD. A lot of this stuff was done in collaboration with senior CIA officers. CIA has trained NYPD officers. They get federal money for these programs. They're using federal computers for these documents. But asked Tom Perez from the Civil Rights Division what he thinks about this. I mean, it was frustrating for us. I mean, he literally, just doesn't even answer the question. He just walks away. I mean, it's hard to get an answer. I mean, a lot of people who find this troubling have said, oh, Pete King, congressman from New York, he's been so against it. He's come out so in favor of the NYPD. He's saying what he believes, and you have to give somebody credit for being willing to engage in this. These are hard conversations. This is uncharted waters we're in. And you have to give people credit for coming forward and saying, this is what I believe. And if it's not popular on either side, fine, this is what I believe. I mean, what we've been trying to do from the very beginning is let people know what's going on so people can have so people can make informed decisions. And, a lot of people, I think, are just, we don't want to even get involved in this. We don't want to know it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to have anything to do with it.
Matt, just quickly, even getting this document, the NYPD is notorious for resisting freedom of information requests. How difficult was it to get them to turn over this document?
Oh, they didn't turn it over. I mean, in the course of this reporting, we've received documents from a variety of sources, who've done so, frankly, probably with some risk to their careers. And a lot of people, inside the department, the majority of the people who've been talking about this, Ray Kelly has said repeatedly, this is disgruntled FBI guys. I mean, the FBI didn't even know about these programs. I mean, so we've been able, we've been building these reports on dozens and dozens of interviews with people inside the intelligence division, people with intimate knowledge of these programs who've, many of whom say, no, we're not ashamed of this. This is the way you should be doing it. And some of whom say, this is not what the police department should be doing. And again, we're just trying to get that discussion going. And frankly, I mean, here we are 6 months after the first story came out, and we're still talking about it. And, we think it's a topic worth talking about, and certainly a topic worth exploring.
Matt Apuzzo, we have to break, but we're going to come back to this discussion. We'll also be joined by a Harlem imam to talk about the effect of the release of the report on the surveillance on the Muslim community in New York. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're speaking with Matt Apuzzo, the AP reporter among the team who has broken the story of a New York Police Department report saying they would be surveilling the Muslim community. This is Democracy Now! Back in a minute.